Hey guys, I'm Dave, AAA coach. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about what the difference is between shooting and training. Stay tuned. Okay, before we get started, let's talk about some of the things that's happening. We have a pumpkin shoot coming up here on the Day of the Dead, and we're literally going to shoot pumpkins. You can sign up with the registration link below. Pumpkins, food, ammunition, firearms, all provided. Now, if you bring a pumpkin yourself or a jack-o'-lantern, this is on the 2nd of November, so if you bring your jack-o'-lantern, that will count. You can get a $5 gift card at Stockpile Cache. So we're going to be supporting the Special Forces Foundation with raffle tickets. So you guys, if you can't even attend, at least consider buying a raffle ticket to support the foundation. That raffle ticket will give you the chance to win several different prizes. We have a Mantis X10 up for grabs. We have a Ride-On 1:8 by 24 low-powered variable optic for grabs. We also have a Vortex red dot sight for your AR up for grabs, a shotgun, a training session with me, and also a month-long membership at Renzo Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. So you guys come join us. It's going to be a fun time. 2 November on the Day of the Dead. All right, so let's get started here. So the reason why I want to do this video is, you've seen it, man. You've seen it at the range. And this might be you. If I'm describing you, then you need to come to AAA Coach and get some actual training. So if you're going to the range to have fun, okay, I get it. Go have fun. But if you're shooting at a target, let's say at 4 yards, maybe even 7 yards, or even further, and you're not trying to better yourself, you're wasting ammo and you're wasting money. If you're hitting, I guess, a 12-inch circle, let's call it, at 4 yards, and you think that is good, you have another thing coming. You're not training. You're just wasting ammo. And if that's what you want to do, I mean, go do it by all means. But at the end of the day, you can get the training and you can have fun at the same time and get the value out of every single bullet or cartridge that you purchase. You've seen those people at the range. They're just blasting away. They'll shoot a couple rounds here and there, and then they leave. There's no real thought process to what they're doing or why they're doing it. So that's what we're going to get in today. And I think it's important because if you're going to have a firearm, you should train with it. And if you're going to train yourself, well, then you need to have some kind of goal to get to that point where you're actually training yourself instead of just blasting ammo. Like I said, it's fun to just go out and shoot. Don't get me wrong, that is fun. But you want to have some kind of training value. So when we're doing this Day of the Dead pumpkin shoot, myself and the other instructors, we're going to let you have fun, but we're also going to give you some training guidance, right? Specifically talking about the grip and the trigger control. So we're also going to give you those things because those are the two things that I see most people have a problem with, is grip and trigger control. And consequently, those two things are the most important when it comes to the fundamentals. So let's talk about the amount of money that you're spending at the range just to have fun. So we're looking at least, let's say, 25 cents a round, roughly, for a 9mm. Okay, so you're looking at purchasing a box of ammunition for anywhere from $10 to $15 and maybe even more. Uh, let's say it's 50 rounds, okay, and you go to the range and you blast those 50 rounds. Well, when you get to the range, when you get there, you've already spent the gas money to get there. You've got to pay the range fee. Then you're shooting the 50 rounds of ammunition, which is putting wear and tear on your firearm. Okay, you see where I'm going here? And you're not getting any value other than having fun out of each and every round. An alternative to that would be have a plan to what you're going to train on when you get to the range. That way, the money you're spending on gas, the money that you're spending on the range fee, and the money you're spending on your ammunition, and the wear and tear you're putting on your firearm, at least you're getting some value out of each and every round that you shoot or cartridge that you shoot. Okay, and I think that is more valuable than just going and shooting 50 rounds of ammunition, for example. In fact, you could see a bunch of people go and they shoot 200 rounds in a session. They don't get any training value out of it. But then you see one person that's using 50 rounds and they're getting maximum training value out of that 50 rounds that they're having. So that is the best option. Okay, so before we get into what training is and what shooting is and all that stuff, we have to talk about mindset, because we're talking about self-defense here. Okay, there's a whole lot of things that have to happen with self-defense. There's a lot of things that you can train on when it comes to self-defense, but it all starts with your mindset, and that mindset is going to set the tone for how you train at the range. If you have the mindset of, well, I don't need any training, I've heard this before, all of you military personnel and you cops, by the way, cops and military personnel are the worst. They're the worst. They think they've had enough training. That is their mentality, the most of them, okay, not all of them, but most of them. Military personnel that I was trying to get them to train, and this is what they said. Oh, no, thank you. I'm in the Army. What the hell does that mean? This person, I asked them, I said, hey, what unit are you in? And what's your MOS? It comes to find out, the lady was a helicopter mechanic. So, in essence, she shoots minimally throughout the year through the U.S. Army and has zero training except for how to point the weapon in a safe direction. That is not where somebody needs to be when they're talking about that. So just because you're military or law enforcement doesn't mean that you are well trained. It just means that you have had some form of training. So what is mindset exactly? Okay, so this is where we're going to start. We're going to set the tone for what we're going to train on and how we're going to train. Okay, and this goes for anyone who has any level of experience or no experience at all. Okay, so this is the definition I came up with. If you have some kind of improvement of the definition, link up in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this definition or any of this content for that matter. Okay, so what is mindset in terms of self-defense? Okay, mindset is proactive thoughts to stop, avoid, deter, alter, or diminish the actions of someone who would attempt to do harm to someone else for any reason, at any time, with any tool available, for money, fame, spite, vengeance, or for no reason at all, because the perpetrator's mental status and the willingness to do what is necessary to protect oneself or others, even when the necessary action will likely cause harm or death to the perpetrators or perpetrator. So, deliberate thoughts, proactive thoughts, so that you can protect yourself or others. basically is the summary of that. Okay, against somebody who's coming against you. Maybe that somebody has some kind of mental status where they're on drugs, for example. The other thing is maybe somebody's mindset is that they'll do whatever they want, when they want, or how they want. Or maybe they're part of a gang and this is initiation. So it's all about the mindset of the individual that's attacking. All right. So that's why I put in there due to their mindset. Okay. Because it doesn't matter what it is, they're still attacking you, or if they're attacking someone else. And I do believe we should protect each other. Okay. But you are putting yourself at risk when you do protect someone else as well. So, okay, now that we know what mindset is, well, then what is shooting practice? So, shooting practice, you can go to the range and you can shoot, and as I said before, you're not getting any training value out of it. Yes, you're practicing shooting, and when you're at the range, if there's a range safety officer, because some of these ranges, they don't really have a range safety officer there. It's just up to the individual to be safe on their own. So if you have a range safety officer, potentially that range safety officer could come to you and be like, hey, make sure the weapon's pointed that way, make sure this, make sure that, right? And so you would be training on the safety precautions of having the firearm and pointing it in the safe direction and loading it, and you're doing all those things. You're doing the gross motor skills of having a firearm. So there is an element to training when you're shooting practices, but you're not deliberately doing it. It's just something that comes inherent with that. Unless, of course, you're by yourself at the range and you're not doing any kind of safe practices, and I've seen that too. So just because you're going to the range doesn't mean that you're actually getting any training. Okay, so that's shooting practice. And the thing about it is, you can also practice the wrong things. So now you're practicing the wrong things, and you're just developing bad habits. That when you come to someone like me, we have to correct those bad habits, and it's hard to do that, especially if you have somebody who's very arrogant, and they think they know how to shoot. If they're not listening to instruction, then that could be problematic. So it's best to basically let them shoot themselves in the foot, so to speak. Not really shoot themselves in the foot, but let them shoot the target, and then when they miss the target or they miss the goal or whatever, then you say, okay, well, try these different techniques. Let's work on this. Let's work on that. And that seems to work out pretty well. Okay, once they figure out that they're actually not as good as they think they are. Okay, so what is training then? Again, this is a definition that I come up with because the Webster Dictionary or anything like that, they don't really have a good definition of training. It's very vague. So specific to firearms training and self-defense, that's what we're going to talk about here. So training, specific actions to achieve specific goals to enable the mindset necessary to active and passive self-defense through an evaluative process that makes the training better over time and repetition. Okay, so in summary, notice I put time and repetition in there because just because you go to the range doesn't mean you're doing anything good. We've already covered that. I beat that dead horse, okay? But when you go to the range, you have to have a specific goal to achieve. And if you achieve that goal, well, even if you achieve that goal, you're still trying to think of how to make it better or faster, more faster, more accurate, maybe more fluid. How can we make that specific thing, that specific goal, how can we achieve that better next time? So that's the evaluative process. And then you have to do it over time and repetition, right? So let's take a brand new shooter, for example. That shooter, when they come to the range. I had a lady, a very awesome lady. She's great. She came to the range and she's never shot a gun before in her life. And these are the customers I love because they're a sponge and they just soak up so much information. And then when they leave, they feel accomplished and they smile. They put a big smile on their face and they leave and they feel accomplished and they feel confident that they can take a firearm and they can at least safely point it in the direction that they need to. Okay. This lady, um, she was so nervous that the only thing that I could do is to make sure that she pointed the gun in the safe direction, kept her finger off the trigger, and shot the firearm. Because anything else that I would go into would be overwhelming for her at that point in time, right? So there's one repetition over time. So that was a 2-hour session. And then the next time she came, then I was able to really hone in on, okay, grip, trigger squeeze. And she really enjoyed it. So now we gotten the jitters out, so to speak, on the first repetition and time. Now we're looking at actually getting the grip and the trigger squeeze down or trigger press or whatever the hell you want to call it, pulling the trigger, getting that down so she was actually being very accurate on target. So in the second session, I got her to shoot 1-inch pasty squares consistently at 4 yards. And this is somebody who's never shot before. Never shot. And we really honed in on that specific goal of being able to hit that 1-inch square at 4 yards consistently. So how do we make that better, for example? Well, let's say the next time she comes, maybe we back up to 7 yards and we still try to hit the 1-inch square, you know, or maybe we try to become faster or whatever the goal is at the time. So that is the difference between training and actually just going to shoot, right? Another example would be, okay, drawing from the holster. So depending on your goal, if you're a competition person, let's say USPSA, and you want to get faster at the draw, well, you have to do repetitions to get faster at the draw. But you're evaluating yourself on each and every repetition. Did I get my hand up into the beaver tail as much as I could? Did I pull the firearm out of the holster in a smooth and quick manner? Did I get on target? And when I got on target, was my front sight post up, down, left, right, or was it very center? And how can I improve on my drawing process? So that's the repetition and time when it comes to drawing on holster. There's so many things that you can train on. It's absolutely ridiculous that someone would just go to the range and just blast away ammunition and not get their money's worth out of it. We're going to talk about a couple of different things that you can train on at the range or at the house. For example, you can train trigger press, for example, at the house with the Mantis X system that is going to give you some evaluative things that you can visually see on your phone to improve your shot group on the range. So if you guys want to check that out, I have an affiliate link below. The Mantis X 2, 3, and 10 are absolutely wonderful and is my go-to for any brand new shooters that are apprehensive about shooting, because I can have them see their results on the phone before we even shoot one round. The other thing is we're working on fine and gross motor skills, right? So the gross motor skills being drawing from the holster. The fine motor skills being able to find that wall of the trigger, or what I actually like to call the edge of the wall. You're not actually finding the wall, you're finding that edge of the wall right before the sear disconnects from the firing mechanism, whether it be the hammer or the striker. we can do awareness training, right? And you can do this while you're walking, let's say downtown Denver or downtown whatever city that you're watching this from, and you're just walking and you're keeping your head out of your phone, and you don't have to have your head on a swivel, but you want to be able to notice certain things, specific things, such as maybe there's a lunatic 2 blocks away from you in your direction that you're going to be traveling. Let's say you're trying to get from point A to point B. In between point A and point B, there's some kind of lunatic on the street, or maybe it's just a bum, or maybe it's somebody who just doesn't look um, like they should be there, for example. Well, instead of continuing going straight, maybe to get to point B, you have to take a detour. So just having some kind of awareness in that situation is also training, and it all goes back to mindset on how you're going to protect yourself. Okay. The other thing is when you cross the street, do you look both ways? In fact, I look 4 ways before I cross the street, no matter what the sign says. I don't care if it says walk or don't walk or whatever. I'm looking left, right, behind me, and I'm also looking in front of me where the cars are coming. Because, yeah, okay, I have the right of way because I'm a pedestrian. But, dude, that's a 2,000-pound plus vehicle. Like, my body is not going to stop that vehicle. If somebody is not paying attention to where they're going and they hit me, yeah, sure, I can sue them if I'm alive. But even if I'm not alive, maybe I'm now disabled because somebody hit me with the car because I was so arrogant and so self-righteous that I can walk because I have the right of way. Okay? That is something else that is also mindset driven. And you'll see it if you go and you watch people, do some people watching in the cities. As soon as that light turns, walk. Then they just walk. And they have their head in their phone, or they're talking to somebody, or they're completely distracted. Martial arts. Martial arts is perfect for the mindset. It's also very humbling to go toe to toe to somebody on the mat, and they choke you out, or they get you an arm bar, or whatever the case may be. It's very humbling, and then you're also learning a skill. In that, you're also learning how resilient you can be. So if you're doing boxing, for example, and you get punched in the face, and you continue to fight, or you continue to spar with whoever it is, now you're learning how to be resilient, which is a great quality and a great trait when it comes to self-defense. And it's not the first time you've been punched in the face. If somebody punches your face on the street or whatever, okay? If that's the first time you're getting punched in the face, well, you're probably not going to know how to react. And it's very humbling as well, like I said, when you do get your ass kicked on the mat. Because let's say you size somebody up, and then that somebody actually gets the better of you. Now you're like, oh crap. This person, which is smaller than I, or whatever, more timid, or whatever it is, now you're looking at other people differently, and you're saying, well, okay, maybe I shouldn't be so arrogant about who I am, because the other person, I don't know what kind of skills they have, or I don't know what kind of weapons they have. But you have to couple martial arts with firearms training, in my point of view, because distance is your friend. If I can deter somebody from attacking me or my wife or somebody else just by displaying a firearm, and let's say I got in trouble for displaying the firearm by the law, okay, well, that's a misdemeanor. Who cares? Let's call it brandishing. At least I deterred that person from attacking me or my wife or somebody else. That is better than somebody coming up to me. I don't have a firearm, don't have anything to do. except for go toe-to-toe with this person. And now I'm in close proximity. Maybe they have a knife, or maybe they have something else. Or maybe they're a better fighter than I am. Whatever the case may be, I would rather not go to toe-to-toe with somebody in a self-defense situation. And then lastly, cognitive training. I have a course where we do cognitive training. And what I mean by that is if you go to the range and you just shoot, you're just shooting. That's all you're doing. You're not actually training your brain on what other things could be happening at that time that you're shooting. If you have to draw your firearm in self-defense, there could be, and most likely, there's going to be other people around. Innocent people. And you don't want to shoot those innocent people arbitrarily. Because every bullet that leaves that firearm is your responsibility. There could be obviously people could be around. Maybe you shouldn't pull your firearm out until the last minute because others may see you with the firearm but not see the actual perpetrator. And their story, when the cops interview them, or whatever you want to call it, when they're doing their investigation, that person's story may be, well, I saw X with a firearm, and that person looked to be the aggressor, even though you weren't the aggressor, for example. Another example here is if you display your firearm from your vehicle and somebody sees that, they can get your license plate and then call the cops and say, hey, this person just pointed their firearm at someone else. And it could be a complete lie. But when the cops come and they have reasonable cause now to search your vehicle, and they search your vehicle and they see a firearm, they're like, well, somebody so-and-so said that you pointed the firearm at him or someone else. Even if it's a lie, the cops still have to do the investigation. And now that person's lie is going to be credible because you have a firearm in your vehicle or in your presence. So cognitive training. So how do we do that? In my courses, we do puzzles. And then at a certain point, I'll hit a button or I'll tell you to shoot or whatever. And then you have to turn around and shoot the target. Another cognitive training session that we do is, we put a bunch of balloons up. Some of the balloons are the bad guy. Some of the balloons are not. And you have to shoot in and around these balloons, right? Because people move around. And you have to have the awareness to shoot or not shoot if there's somebody who's going to be an attacker. If, let's say there's a mass shooter, let's say at Supers here in Boulder, people are running around. Kids are running around. People are ducking and diving. Mothers are probably trying to find their kids. Like, there's mass chaos. So how do you train that? And here, what we do is we get some balloons, we get some helium, we put an array of balloons out there, and you have to shoot the mass shooter through the balloons, okay? And then when you do that, the balloons start moving, and then you still have to hit them, right? So that cognitive piece there is important as well. So there's all kinds of things that you can train on. And that's pretty much the spiel I have for today.